Hi, this is Lunch with Laura. I hope you guys are having a great day. For some reason, this looks like I need to adjust it just a little bit more. Okay, sorry about that. This is Lunch with Laura. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, we're going to be talking about child support when your ex is under the radar. A question came up, what can you do if, your ex kind of works under the, gets paid under the table, or they work in a cash business. Let's say, for example, that your ex is a barber, something like that, that, usually has someone that pays them cash or they get paid in cash most often. What can you do, or if your ex is living with some folks and not really, you know, having the traditional monthly expenses, what can you do? And, the laws are different in every state, obviously. And so, you want to, one good place to start to try to find out, what is your state, what does the state look at as far as looking at income to kind of base child support off of. And a good place for that is the Attorney General's office. So if you go to the Attorney General's office, you go to their website, and again, whatever state that you live in, so say for example it's in Texas, it'll be a Texas Attorney General's office. And a lot of times they will have very, very helpful information on there. They will have helpful information for people who are custodial parents, which means you have full-time custody of your kids. And you can go in there and take a look and see, they'll give you different guidelines to say, hey, this is what we look at as far as, how we try to calculate child support. There will usually also be a child support calculator on the site most often. So, if you check around, look around the website, and you'll see, oh yeah, there's a child support calculator on here that will give you a ballpark figure of what your child support may look like if you don't have that established already. And so, okay, so if your ex is living what I call a gypsy lifestyle, they live under the table or they're always changing jobs. As soon as you find them, they're changing their jobs, they're disappearing, or like I said, they have a cash business, they're a barber or, they maybe work as a mechanic and they get paid in cash most often if they work for a smaller shop. I'm not talking about the bigger chains, as far as mechanics and stuff like that, but if they work in, small mom and pop shop, they might just get paid, or if they're kind of doing freelance stuff, whatever that may be, to try to earn a living, and most of that's paid in cash. So say, for example, they do, handyman kind of construction work type of stuff. Sometimes, if they work for a smaller business, they may get paid in cash. How do you account for that? How do you try to calculate what child support is? Okay. And you really, one thing that you can do is kind of back into it. And what do I mean by that? You can say, for example, you can say, okay, 18 months ago when we were living together, his cell phone bill was this amount. And, I know the city that he lives in, the neighborhood that he lives in. And, if he lives in a one-bedroom apartment, he would be paying this. And say, for example, that he moves further away, you're not familiar with that area, but through the grapevine that he's living in a one-bedroom apartment. You try to figure out, how much is that worth? What is the amount of rent in that area? You can go to different places like Realtor.com and put in that city and then put in one-bedroom apartments and try to get a ballpark figure of what the fair market value, that's what you want to know, the fair market value of what a person would pay to live in that area, if it's a one-bedroom or a two-bedroom or whatever it is. And you can kind of look at those figures and say, okay, this is, what his, if he's making ends meet, if he's got a roof over his head and his cell phone is, cell phone is on, somebody's paying it, right? If he's got a roof over his head, what would he be paying for that? You can kind of look at that and say, okay, you look at all the monthly expenses that he might have, besides the rent, utilities and all that. A lot of times too, you can get information like that from resources like Realtor.com, or another website to go to is Zillow, and I'll put this in the chat section. If you guys have any questions too, please feel free to type it in the chat section, even if you're watching this video taped and you're not watching it live, or if you're watching it live, I would love to hear from you. Okay, so you can go to different websites like that to get information on standard of living in a particular area. what it costs to live in that area, is what I mean. So, that'll kind of give you an idea. Okay, this is what probably his monthly expenses look like. If he's, still breathing in and out and got a roof over his head and the cell phone is on, somehow he's finding a way to pay for it, even though, he'll say, I didn't make any income last year. How you living, how, who's supporting you. And sometimes too, if they're living with family members, or if they're living with friends, or if they're living with a girlfriend who's supporting them, what you can do is, some states, again, every state is different. Every state is different. But some states will look at that and say, okay, you're being supported by somebody, and you're not bringing in any income. It must be a gift every month. Okay, so every month that you're living with your girlfriend, if you look at what half the expenses would be, okay, we're going to look at that and consider that to be income, and we're going to start to base some of your child support off of that. So some states, if your ex is being supported by, his girlfriend or family members or whatever it is, they may look at that as a gift to your ex every single month, and then take the value of what that gift is worth and then try to base child support off of that. Another thing that a lot of states do is, if your ex is not disabled, if he's, able-bodied, as they say, if they're able-bodied, he's able to work, he doesn't have a missing arm or anything like that, or, he's not in, some facility somewhere being, in a way that he is unable to work, but so if he's okay, if he's able to work, everything's all right with him, and he's just not working. A lot of times they'll look to see, what is he doing to try to secure employment. But sometimes too, they will, what they call, give them or set it at a minimum wage child support amount, which unfortunately isn't that much, but every little bit counts. And so if nothing else, if he says that, I haven't worked in, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, you can certainly ask that they at least set it at minimum wage. So that way, each month he'll have an obligation to pay it. And usually too, again, every state is different, but usually the quicker that you go in, I mean, a lot of times, some people will wait and say, I really don't have the money to go in right now and ask for child support. A lot of states, what they'll do is, it may be 6 months before you get a hearing, but a lot of states will revert back to the time that you filed and then say, okay, this is what he owes from the time that you filed until now, even though 6 months have gone by. So usually when you talk about child support, you want to get in, you want to race to the courthouse and get there and file as quickly as you can, because the states will look from the time that you actually filed, not the time that you guys just separated and and said whatever. They will look back to the time that you filed. So if you wait, 6 months, 8 months, a year after you separate, a lot of times that's just, if he's not giving you any money, that time is just lost. The judge isn't going to look back to the date that he moved out. The judge is going to look back to the time that you actually filed in court. All right. So again, every state's different. You can also too, a lot of times, you can see if you can schedule an appointment to speak to someone in the Attorney General's office and get a lot of your questions answered in the area that you live. A lot of times the Attorney General's office have local offices that may be within reasonable driving distance from where you live. So, a lot of times they are a good resource. A lot of times you may have to wait quite a while before you get an appointment. Or sometimes they'll have walk-ins. They'll have days that you can kind of walk into their office and talk to someone, especially if you need help in filling out an application for child support. And some people think too, well, I'm not divorced, can I ask for child support? And some states will allow you to ask for child support even though you're still legally married. You would just have to show that you're not living at the same residence. And so, don't think, oh, we're still married, I just haven't seen him for forever, and he hasn't seen the kids in forever, and I'm just stuck until I decide to, move forward and file for divorce. I mean, hopefully, you're looking towards, deciding what you're going to do in that respect anyway, if you're living separate. And so, get the support that you need for your kids, and, be able to kind of move forward from there, whatever you decide to do. If you guys decide to reconcile, you just let the Attorney General's office know, if you guys move back in together, and you say, okay, hey, it's been a month or 2 months and we're living together again, and, okay, let the Attorney General's office know. So that way, they understand what's what. Okay? So I hope you find that helpful. I know that's kind of a lot of information, but, that comes up quite a bit, when folks decide to disappear or, like I said, live a gypsy lifestyle where they're moving around a lot or living off the radar, off the grid, as I like to say. Those are some of the things that you can think about doing. And the Attorney General's office, it doesn't cost anything usually to file for an application. It just usually takes longer. All right? So enjoy your lunch. Have a great day. I will talk to you tomorrow.